Hey everyone, Jason Dolby here with Compass Real Estate and the Dolby Group. I have the distinct pleasure of having Lauren Richardson on our show today. Hey Lauren, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Good. So Lauren is the developer behind a new concept that she is bringing to market here in Denver. And just a quick disclaimer, we're just kind of keeping things at a high level here. We're not diving into any offerings or financials or anything like that. We're merely bringing Lauren's project to the market and trying to generate some exposure for her. So we are excited to do that. So thank you again, Lauren, for being here.
Yeah, happy to be here. Excited to
And
share.
so good. And so Lauren, fill us in. Where are you from? What's your background? How'd you get into this?
Yeah, I have no idea. I am originally from North Carolina and went to school at University of Georgia. Go Dogs! Yeah, but
Yeah.
I studied English literature. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I wasn't sure if I wanted to go to grad school. I enjoyed going to football games in my spare time, primarily in college, as opposed to really focusing in. Had I known then what I know now, probably would have studied commercial real estate, maybe business, maybe some other things. But learning to read and write, always great. Being an expert at
Yeah.
that. But I graduating, moved to Austin, Texas, wanted to live in Austin, pretty much it. Found a really cool tech startup. It was the quintessential build your own desk on the first day kind of deal, employee number
Mm-hmm.
six on what was
Mm,
an account team, but not, it was like a room full of people that like did whatever we needed to do.
sure.
It was amazing. It was an amazing experience. I didn't even know, that was my first career job. And so I had no idea. It's like, cool. Sure, I'll build my desk. I'll take a call with clients. I'll help build this product. No idea what I was doing.
It's
Um,
exciting and fast paced, right?
It was learning through a water hose, which is kind of the baseline for me of my
Yeah.
entire 20s. Made a personal move to Denver, and I decided to build a business off of this shop where you stay, this retail and hospitality fusion that I mentioned. And so I started approaching Airbnb homeowners and was like, hey, I want to optimize your listing, kind of making it up as I go. And I went the approach of coming at it as an interior designer. So I would
Okay.
say, hey, Jason, you have an Airbnb, it's performing okay. Why don't you hire me as a designer? I'm going to come in and infuse all locally made goods and furniture and products. They're all going to be for sale on my website. The bonus for you is you get this amazing looking place and your booking will increase and your nightly rate will increase.
Mm-hmm.
It worked. I got now is a partner of mine in the business and has been extremely receptive, supportive, encouraging, all the things that you want, especially
Yeah.
coming from a straight, right? I mean, I was like a crazy person behind the keyboard, like, please let me come design your house. Please let me try this out. And it did work. So I've got 3 in Colorado right now of what I call shoppable Airbnbs.
Okay. So I can go
Yeah.
and buy the furniture or whatever I see in there, right? If I like the bed frame, I
Bed
can.
frame, the mattress, the sheets, and then the catch is that everything, literally the sheets, are made by a Colorado brand.
Oh.
So it's a really neat, localized way to. I mean, that was kind of my ethos, right? I want to keep things super local. I want to buy from individual people. I know everyone's Amazon's biggest fan, and for obvious reasons, we're an instant gratification society. But I'm kind of
Mm-hmm.
seeing this even more so, where people care about having their money go to an individual. It's Mary down the street. It's not.
Okay, so take us to today. The Sursy is in concept, in planning, right? And you are under contract on uh, the real estate, correct?
I am
Okay.
somehow, and
So
somehow, some way.
how did you get to this point now?
God, uh, pure willpower, just not stopping. I mean, I think, yes, I have hospitality experience. I've worked. I mean, all growing up, I worked in restaurants, bars. Like I've always been in some capacity in that vertical. but the development piece of it and real estate and commercial real estate, which I know is, second language for you, but for me, it's like I'm figuring it out as I go.
Sure.
It's definitely been a weird year for it on top of that, but I think keeping conversations going and just keeping the eye on the prize.
So was this something that you had dreamed up and always wanted to do, and then you thought this is now the time I'm going to do it, or the opportunity came along and then you fit the, just kind of fill me in how it happened.
Yeah, I had this idea for years, maybe, I mean, a decade. My entire 20s, I was like, I know I love motels. I love nostalgia. I mean, even for, Christmas, my favorite things getting for the holidays are like old family heirlooms or, something that somebody made. I love that kind of stuff. And so there's something about this roadside Americana, as I call it, the architecture behind all these old motels.
Mm-hmm.
They're all over the place in cities across the country, and they're getting torn down, and they have all these really cool signs and,
Mm-hmm.
neon signs, and I want to save them. And I always just imagine, I even right now can picture like working there and,
Right.
having kids run around and working there. And it's very bizarre, but the vision has been there. And so I just kind of went and figured out how to, yeah, but
Yeah.
it's very
And
tech led, which is, I think, a difference from a bed and breakfast. You usually have like the mom and pop making the breakfast and bringing it to your room on a little tray, that sort of thing. And this is very Airbnb meets hospitality. So
okay.
check yourself in. There's no lobby. There's no in concept. There's no lobby. It's just you check yourself in. Anything you need can be done from our app. I think, and I base a lot based off how I like to travel. But I think people love that self check in, just
Mm-hmm.
behind a screen for better, for worse. I still definitely want there to be a human element, but I think people don't really care to go to a lobby check-in desk and say, hey, like, here's your free mini beer or whatever little kitschy things people do. No one
Right.
cares.
Right.
Yeah.
And so roadside revival, the you have your properties on Colfax, right? West
It
Colfax,
is.
correct? And so tell us a little bit about the location here in Denver.
Yeah, it is amazing. I think it's amazing now. Obviously, I'm biased, but I share the vision of a lot of people who have been working for honestly longer than I've even been alive to bring that part of town back to life. There are the 40 West Arts District and the community there full of extremely passionate, talented people. It's like being in a neighborhood that's big. And I right now live in Denver,
Mm-hmm.
but I can't wait to call myself a Lakewood resident when I move into this motel because it really is. It's seen some rough days, if I'm being honest, and it definitely there's a lot of crime that happens over west of Sheridan on that part of town. But I think something like this, my hope is that something like this would lean into the community there in a way that help elevate the neighborhood and kind of get the right momentum going over there because they've done, like I said, people have done a great job of. It's a huge draw, and I think part of my concept too, or vision behind the concept, is to create a place for locals and travelers to come together. So this very like communal type place where it's not just, oh, I'm going to check in for 2 nights because I'm here for a conference.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I think business travel post COVID is going to be extremely different,
Yeah.
and I would say non-existent, but I'll say very different
Right.
for how people are traveling. It's like, oh, I'll go to Denver. I can work remote. Maybe there's a conference that's here, but now they'll stay 10 days, not 3.
Sure.
Is my
Sure.
is my gut. Is my
Um,
gut on the thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, let's dive in here. Can you pull up your deck
I
that
can
you
do that.
have?
I can do that. And I will give an overview. There's not photo credits on each of these slides, but I just want to call out that a lot of these photos I pulled from other hospitality entities that exist. They're not my own. They're just inspired, and I share the same vision. I respect a lot of the folks that are included in this deck. So I just
Okay.
wanted to
Well,
put that out there.
thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
And then, like I said earlier, this is, we're not necessarily touching on any of the financials that are being projected or, the actual offering. So we're just going to keep this kind of high level here. So a
Yeah,
shoppable stay experience plus neighborhood destination, right?
that's it.
Okay.
And yeah, you mentioned earlier this kind of like revitalizing roadside Americana. I
Right.
love that phrase.
Yeah. Well, I took that
But
from you. So,
right, okay, yeah, it's like, well, yeah, it's right here. But I love it. I love this roadside motel, like I mentioned. I think innovation and technology, I alluded to earlier, is a big piece of it, and real estate, which
okay.
is, you see this as people are doing these big market halls, right? Mixed use is the name of the game, I think, in 2020 and for the foreseeable future.
Yep.
And then, yeah, this intersection of retail design and hospitality you'll see with the shoppable rooms concept.
Okay.
Um, I think that these are the three kind of buckets that I see as our challenge, right? People are always like, why are you doing this? What problem are you trying to solve? The reality is, I just think it's a really good idea and it's going to do really well. But hey, I think for the large part, there is an opportunity to create a destination that focuses on the needs and wants of today's traveler and consumer. More and more boutique brands are popping up. Lifehouse in Denver is a really great example of that. They just popped up in Lower Highlands. It's a really boutique, intentional stay that somehow makes a really personalized experience for every single guest, even though, there's someone new every day in theory.
Right.
The bucket from the shoppable piece is yeah, travel and hospitality. I think the big takeaway from this slide is that industries are blurring more and more. The way people are is they want equilibrium in everything, is how I put it here. But it's not, oh, I'm going to go to work, anymore, especially me. I mean, I work for myself. I can get stuff done at 11 p.m. if that's when I'm feeling productive and inspired, et cetera. And
Right.
that's definitely a privilege to do that. But I think more and more people are seeking that balance, right? If it's not a work day, it's just more
Okay.
fluid.
Yep.
This speaks to what I mentioned. The way that people are traveling, specifically millennials and Gen Z, that's coming up and kind of coming into their own financially. They want places that are committed to ethical values. And I think that the more and more it kind of goes back to people not buying on Amazon. It might be a little bit more expensive and it might take a little bit more effort to seek out someone to hand make your cereal bowls, but you can do it and people are doing it.
So
Um,
I mean, like that kind of goes into who are you attracting as your customer? I mean, are they younger or like who do you envision as staying in
yeah,
this?
it's a really wide variety. And I think you'll see I'll break into the different room types because we are in concept, we're going to have 25 rooms and there's a variety of different types with real intention behind who we're targeting to stay there. I would say primarily this is a millennial Gen Z play if I had to bucket it. I designed for myself. I'm a 30-year-old, live in Denver, no kids. I would stay here. But I think it's great. I think it's a really strong concept for even an older play. Maybe folks that had kids and now they're out of the house and now they want to adventure and explore and stay in Denver. I would see those people staying here, in
Right.
their late 50s, mid 60s, because it is kind of an adventure.
Totally.
So I like it.
Well, as
Uh,
in real estate, there's a life cycle, right? Or there's a cycle of
yeah,
home ownership, and at some point you have your kids, and then you move out a little ways. You need some space, but then you're like, all right, I'm kind of tired of that. I want to go back in where the fun and the excitement is, and you move downtown, or you stay in a Sursy, right? While you're traveling, and so I totally get that. And
yeah,
also, to go back, like I like to do things for myself, right? If I like it, I'm just going to assume other people like it. Well, let's see
uh,
here. So, you were talking about rooms. Oh, is that the actual motel there?
yeah. Isn't
Okay,
that
so
cool? And one
yeah,
really
so
neat
it's the
thing about
White Swan Court.
it, it's White Swan Court is what it was in the 40s, and this in the background is the real photo of the property.
Okay.
And one cool thing is that a Sursy, I'm from the South, and a Sursy is a Southern word for a souvenir.
Hmm.
And so when I saw this photo and it has souvenirs literally on the sign, I'm kind of a sign kind of girl, literally, metaphorically, however you want to do that. But it felt like, okay, this property is like calling my name because
Cool.
it's literally my
Can you
company. So that
save
was
that
kind of neat.
sign?
So this sign, as it is in this photo, does not exist, but the one
Okay.
that's there, we will save, and we're going to repurpose it. You'll see there's a whiskey bar concept, but we're going to
Okay.
put it inside. Call it the White Swan Whiskey Bar.
Okay.
Um,
Cool.
really neat.
So
Yeah, so
will you have a like a boutique, or the room is the boutique?
yeah, so I have the room is the boutique, but there is also, I think I'll answer you in the next couple slides, but this
Okay.
I call shoppable experience being layered into the entire thing. So if you go, there's a lot of different elements to it, namely the rooms themselves, and the rooms will be
Mm-hmm.
shoppable. So the app that I mentioned earlier, if you picture through like an AR, VR experience where you're scanning the room with the app, it's going to pop up everything that's for sale, and you would get some sort of, the kicker is, hey, while you stay, you get 20% off if you buy the sheets or you buy whatever. And obviously, things like sheets are shipped out new. But if
Right.
you want to buy original painting on the wall or anything like that, it would be shipped out in concept the same day that you're checking out. And if you didn't want
Cool.
to take
You can
it with
just take it right off the wall.
yeah, but I really do like that idea of someone being like, I want this, I'm going to take it. So, yeah. But this is, I mean, this try before you buy situation is exactly, that's the point. It's, giving
Hmm.
people a salesy environment to try out a little bit more expensive items because they are artisan, but, they might now be like, hell yeah, I want these glassware because it reminds me of my trip to Denver. It's a little Sursy.
Sure.
Yeah, Jason, I love this slide because it's just modern spin on a classic. If I had to just show one slide for the concept, this is a next generation motel. And
Yeah.
I want when people hear motel in, 10 years for it not to have the same negative connotation that I feel like it carries for people that are, through the 80s, 90s, early aughts. I feel like people just are like, oh, motels, like that. And
Right.
I want to bring them back into fashion through this.
Well, the motel too. I mean, it was like what highway am I thinking of?
Route 66.
Yeah, thank you. And
Yeah.
it's just there's the roadside motels, and so it was back to a day when people would hop in the car and they'd drive out to California, right? And you would just stay in those. We've actually seen that revitalization with COVID. The road
Yeah.
trip is totally back, right? Or the camper van or the RV is completely, it seems to be coming back, or at least making some moves that way.
Whatever that
So
looks.
so this is the slide here is the aerial view of the concept.
It's the area view. Yeah, this is a little what we call a sketchy of the property, and it shows this is the different concepts that I was mentioning earlier. There's shoppable guest rooms, there's a whiskey bar, there's a commercial kitchen inside of a shipping container, an upscale laundromat and coffee shop concept that
Hmm.
actually exists in San Francisco. You'll see that. And then I want to integrate an art gallery, retail office, private event space. The funny part about this slide is people start being like, what? Like, how are you going to fit all that? How are you going to fit all that in there? And creatively and strategically, but it does all fit. And I think it's such a nice synergy. All of these things, it's not like I'm putting a bank and a inside of a whiskey bar. Maybe
Right.
that would work. but it's
Well,
but it
if I'm staying there for a week, right, I'm going to most likely need to do laundry at some point, and if you've got a space for me to do that, and I can grab a drink while I do it, and chat with some folks from other places, then it could be an experience.
I think it's just something about the coming and going, right? It's
Yeah.
like you're just kind of in passing, and that's not everyone, but it's again eclectic people like me love that kind of stuff. And I envision the whiskey bar, the laundromat, coffee shop. I want to create areas where that kind of conversation and community is. I don't know what the word is. Like it comes naturally. Like I want to create spaces that evoke that out of people that they just want
Yeah.
to chat and meet people. And
Well,
yeah,
that can be infectious. Like it's like you actually want to get out of your room, or maybe you travel to do work or whatever, and you want to get out, and you can easily do that here. But real quick, you've got a whiskey bar, liquor license. Is
yep,
that something you have? Do you have to go get that? How's that work?
yeah. So a part of our pre-planning application and process with the city, we also met with our legal team who advised on, honestly, not just one license. We'll need about 5 or 6 for the
Okay.
property, because licenses for things like, what if in this art gallery, this conceptual art gallery back here, I want to have a nonprofit event and I want to serve alcohol. Well, you got to have a license for the building, but you can't have a license up here that's the same license for up here, because someone can't walk from here to here, in theory, post COVID times. I'm kind of like, maybe some of these COVID regulations will stick around post. That would be kind of great.
Right.
Take and go kind of standpoint. But yeah, licensing is a big part of it. And we did get approval.
In Colorado, we were kind of at the forefront of the green rush, the cannabis
Yeah.
legalization. Have you leaned into that at all?
So not specifically, but you're not the first person to bring it up. And this building E right here, which I'll start flipping through these, but building E you'll see is a greenhouse, and it's a functioning greenhouse. And I can envision, I've seen cannabis smoking lounges coming up, literally like
Oh yeah.
that you can get out.
Yeah.
And I envision that being a ticketed. There's got to be some control, right? Because what I don't want to do is alienate people who maybe don't participate in that, and then you walk into a room and it smells like,
Everybody's
cannabis.
hotboxing. Totally.
Yeah, everybody's hotboxing. So I have to be thoughtful about that integration, but I would be remiss not to, because obviously, like you said, we're in Colorado.
I mean, I think there's a concept of just catering to that client, right? Is out there as well, especially as more states come and legalize, and it becomes more socially acceptable. So
yeah, I was showing you, this was the conceptual elevation. So this is, again, what the property looked like back in the day, not what it looks like now. But we are going to raise it 3 floors on the front. Colfax, this is Colfax right here.
Yep.
But on Colfax, when you drive by, it'll be 3 floors and then go down to 2.
And you're not renovating. You're going new construction, right?
New construction. Yeah, and there's multiple reasons behind that. We had a couple of really major site visits with, structural folks and the GC team, and pretty much everybody was like, for what we want to do in the long term, we want to integrate some sustainable elements to the build out, et cetera. And it would almost be like putting lipstick on a pig, to use that expression.
Yeah.
There. It's not going to work for the long term to do what we want to do. So we are investing in a tear down, but we are going to pay homage to the original vision of this kind of like Art Deco meets neo-modern, like I call it Palm Springs meets Colorado. Like
yeah,
this vibe
I get it.
Of the
it's
whole
a good look.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, so 10 standard rooms.
10 standard rooms, and this is, you see a lot, people are like, bunk beds are for kids. And I'm like, no, they're not. Then we have premium guest rooms. And so, sorry, for standard, I'm targeting like people that are maybe coming in town with their friends for a weekend. This is a shorter term stay. There's not a ton of amenities in the room, but it's really nice. Each one is different.
Okay.
Like thematic, design wise.
Right.
Premium, all of these will have a kitchenette. So I think the home chef type, someone who's maybe coming in town for more like a week, they want to have access to, some small appliances. You're not, then we have these 3-story deluxe guest suites that are 2 stories and have access to a shared room. And the cool part about these is I like that I want to make them adjoining, so that in theory you could come with like, 6 or 8 friends and you all could book one. And then you could open your doors and be like back and forth, back and forth. Maybe you have a big family and, the parents are like, bye, and close the door and put the kids, over there. And then they have outdoor space that's semi-private. I love this concept.
Right. Well, when we travel with our kids, right? I mean, we do like the Airbnb concept, because we can still go out into the living room, watch some TV, and our kids are in bed, rather than when you're just in a hotel room, like they're in the bed right next You got to be
Exactly.
quiet, So
Exactly.
it accomplishes that.
And for the dedicated places to work, like I think this for a
That's
business
nice.
traveler, if you're coming for like, 2 weeks or something like that, and maybe you are, maybe it's the summer, your kids are out of school, you still have to work. Like summer break for adults should be a thing. But you're in this like nice little place and it's your vacation, right? I think people are more willing to live their life when they have kids now versus previous generations. And
Right.
so it's less catered to children running the show, which, so says the girl with no kids yet. But I think
I got three.
more like, yeah, I'm like, you're probably like, yeah, wait, just wait. Um, that's the idea in theory is that, 3 bedroom, 2 bath, they have their own outdoor patio, Western facing, they have, full kitchen, full living room. And this to me is the Airbnb stay that you were mentioning earlier,
Mm-hmm.
but it's in a hotel setting. So downstairs you have a whiskey bar, you've got this little outdoor green area. Like it's kind of all your amenities in one
Mm-hmm.
hotel, but an Airbnb. You're
Right.
still getting a look at both worlds.
Right.
I'm not marketing this as a wedding venue, but for the right type of couple that likes a kind of communal vibe, I could totally see this being fully bought out. Everyone stays on property. Everything you
Mm-hmm.
need is there. You walk right outside. So that part I think is a nice yes and from a revenue standpoint also.
One of the best weddings I went to, we rented out the whole hotel. It was in the mountains there, and I mean it wasn't big, but everybody,
Yeah.
we knew everybody staying there, and that was so cool. The restaurant was there, the reception was there, and then it was
Yeah.
a really, I mean, it was a fun experience.
So the whiskey bar, this is where I want to refurbish the White Swan sign and put it inside. I want to pay homage to the history of the building, but it doesn't have the infrastructure can't stay for the sign, so I
Okay.
just want to put it there. Made in Colorado cocktails, all the accoutrement. I want it to still follow that same thing. The glassware would be shoppable, right? There's some similar elements,
Like I
and
love this
bringing
martini
back.
glass. Let's buy a dozen, something, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I want to bring back an authentic space that caters to both people. Like if you want to come in and get a $12 like small batch cocktail, do your thing. Go for it. If you want a PBR, go for it. Like I want to
Mm-hmm.
have both the spectrum and have.
So does this get subleased then? I mean, you need an operator, right? I mean, ideally. Same with
Yeah,
the
that is
same with the laundromat. I mean,
same with the laundromat. And so that is what I want to operate is the overarching vision, right? But I start thinking pretty quickly about how this grows to be a company. And in my brain, I picture 5 or 6 of these different properties very much designed to fit their local wherever they are. If it's St. Louis, it's a completely different concept than here, but same kind of roots, if you will. And so I want to find the like-minded partners that are going to operate it in a way that has some synergy, in the overarching thing. So would I just have any person come in and run a bar? No. It would
mm-hmm.
have to be something that is game for, like I said, they've got to integrate the shoppable piece. Hey, we've got to
Right.
use this kind of glass here, and I want to have some say in the design. But the fun part about everyone that I've talked to on that front, I mean, they're so gung ho about collaboration. It's a fun place to work in where everyone's like, sounds great. We can make it work. Let's,
Right.
come up with that. It's really great.
Well, it's like the restaurant hall concept, kind of, right? Where, you bring in a number of other tenants to, kind of create this bigger vision. So, and those
Exactly.
tenants are usually pretty heavily vetted.
So the Sursy has an interior design arm, and we have a retail arm as well. This will be the brick and mortar shop. So you could fancy it to a lobby. This would be where people could, in theory, come find me if they need
Mm-hmm.
something.
Right.
But this will be the home base and the operations. And so, in theory, the studio and the shop are service providers to the motel as the designer and as the retail, the e-commerce provider.
Okay.
Right now, we do take, I take as the Sursy studio, I take clients, commercial and residential for interior design. But in the long term, the idea is that this is the home office. if you will.
You're the overall curator of the product, right, and the vision, and then you've got to bring in operators to you give them the space, and they come and operate under kind of that bigger brand, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And this is the greenhouse. I'm pretty stoked about this part. It will be like a co-working slash greenhouse slash you can rent it for private events. I want to have Ceres as a local Colorado company. So literally even down to who we're working with for the building materials. I'm trying to really focus on Colorado businesses to source
Right.
from. It will be a true greenhouse, microgreens, herbs, and this is well outside of my capabilities. I have a brown thumb to say the least, but
Yeah.
in theory, I love the idea of you being able to dine. Like maybe it's a farm to table dinner that we have this social club, and it's if you're staying there, you and your wife and your kids, they're asleep, and you're like, hey, on Wednesday while we're staying there, there's a chef dinner and there's 12 tickets available. So you and your wife get a discounted ticket because you guys are staying at the hotel, and then there's 3 neighbors that live on Ingalls Street right there, and then there's 6 other hotel guests, and you're all kind of just in there. Again, it kind of feeds a communal vibe for the whole thing. And then Rockbox is a Denver company again that I am going to have help us with building this shipping container commercial kitchen. This won't be like you won't book a stay at the commercial kitchen, but it will be an on-site amenity support, I guess you could say. Like from an operational standpoint, if we're doing a farm to table dinner in the adjoining greenhouse, this is where they would cook. Keeping up yet?
The laundromat coffee shop.
Yeah, so it's small. I think it'll be around 1,000 square feet, but laundry, we're just in conversation with them, have had a few chats, honestly, over the past couple of years as we've worked through the concept. But the founder has 2 locations in San Francisco that are in operation. And it is a laundromat coffee shop. It's meant for people who, care about their surroundings. I think that's the cool part about all of these type of entities that are popping up is it's like, yeah, you can put 50 energy efficient, giant ass commercial, laundry machines in a room and call it a laundromat. But why not elevate the experience a little bit, providing soaps that are biodegradable, providing coffee that you can sit and have and work. It's again goes back to even at the beginning when we were talking about this fusion of life and work. And the Rocky Mountain College of Art and Design is also in the 40 West Arts District over here, and so I'm in conversation with them to try to find a way to integrate that into our space, into our footprint. I envision having an artist in residence program that is in partnership with the school that helps house, I guess, students that are maybe they qualified for a certain scholarship or, maybe this is its own program altogether. But I want to have that incorporated, in some way.
Yeah, that's great.
And then the neighborhood, we kind of touched on this earlier, but 40 West Arts District cannot say enough great things about the community there and the neighborhood organizations. The 2 Creeks in particular has been a huge supporter of this concept. And our plan, they have a 2040 plan for the neighborhood. And there was literally a slide that was like, question mark, what to do with the motels? And I call them up a year and a half ago and I'm like, I want to do this. They were like, yes.
I want one.
Yes, see page 6. And then the tech, Jason, I kind of touched on this earlier a couple of times, but you can see in the background, that you would, in theory, be able to hover over a certain product and say, oh, this is for sale by, Denver's Meredith Steele. I want to buy it. And you buy it right from the app. I think everything, the door to the climate, what little in-room smart devices are in there, everything should be optimized digitally. And, it also helps from a technical standpoint for operations, right?
Sure.
From a financial standpoint, it really makes things efficient to execute this in a smart way.
Well, you have quite the vision here, and one thing that I loved about it is that it's extremely well thought out, and it's difficult to conceptualize outside of your head, but you've done a good job of it right here with your presentation. And I think this is a big undertaking to just not have any experience and go out and do. And that to me is really admirable. And like truly, I think taking massive action is something that people do not do enough of. And that's what, why when we first talked, I wanted to get you back and try to help you gain some exposure here. So, I mean, congratulations. This is great. I mean, I realize you're a long way from the finish line, but you've taken those first few steps and can't finish without taking those.
Right. It's one foot in front of the other. It's some of the best advice I got, early on in this process is people all the time will be like, oh, I had that same idea. I just didn't do anything about it. Like that's the difference. You just have to, it sucks. A lot of days suck and I get a lot of no's. And I learn something new every day that makes the next conversation that much better is how I try to, that's what I say on a positive spin. But it definitely, it's a long way to go. We're set to close March 1st. And then it's, we're looking at at least 18 months. My general contractor's like, yeah, 24. Like, we're way up. But there's a long road ahead to get this open, but it's, there's some great people involved and there's been some really phenomenal support along the way. Fully put this out there, but we'll let this be the opportunity. But for the design of all the rooms, I'm looking for some interior design partners to help with that piece that are Colorado based, which would be fun. Collaboration station.
Right.
And yeah, I think if anybody has an idea or questions, the idea has evolved over the years and it's because of having really productive conversations and other eyes on it. Like I'm so close to it. You hear people all the time. It's like, I'm so close. I can't even see the gaps and I'm sure there's opportunities that I'm not even thinking of. And so I'm always, always open to taking calls or email back and forths with anybody. I love meeting people generally. Yeah.
Right. Well, let's see here. If, like I said, if anybody has any other questions or you want to reach out to Lauren, or myself, we'll put her contact information, or maybe or if you want the slide deck, let us know. We can get that over to you, emailed over to you. There we go. So, but I appreciate, you taking the opportunity and we'll see where it can go from here. But this is exciting for you. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, Jason. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Let's chat soon. Thanks.
Thanks.